Hello, and welcome back to the Career Cravings podcast. Today, I have a juicy episode for you on how to become the candidate that can negotiate a huge salary increase in today's job market. So many people are afraid to negotiate because there are so many candidates. And today, I brought on a very special guest who is a former HR Star client who ended up getting the most massive increase I've seen in a really long time. So we break down how she did that. And it really is about becoming the candidate that is able to do that, which is so fascinating. Also, we break down tips about how you never have to update your resume again. You have one strategic version. She breaks down how she did that. And also the journey to gaining a career that is fulfilling. So I can't wait for you to hear this one. And as a reminder, doors are currently open to my HR Star program, which is the only program for HR professionals looking to land their next role. And the results are literally guaranteed. But don't hear it from me, hear it from Pooja, today's guest. I can't wait for you to hear this one. Let's frickin' go. Hey, it's Irina Pozan, and welcome back to the Career Cravings podcast. This podcast has a simple mission. It's to help ambitious professionals like you build the career and life that you've been craving. Over the past 15 years, I've worked as an HR leader, designed hiring systems, led recruitment teams, and I've sat on the other side of the hiring table. I've seen what works in today's job market, what doesn't, and what separates those good candidates from the ones that actually land their dream roles. Now I'm bringing everything I've learned straight to you. Each episode is packed with actionable insights and tools to help you land your dream role sooner. Now let's dive in. Pooja, I am so excited to have you here. Welcome to the Career Cravings podcast. I can't wait to catch up to hear what you've been up to in the last couple of weeks. I know you landed your dream role and so looking forward to hearing more about that. I'd love to start just by asking, where were you when we just met? Before you joined HR Star, where were you at and how did you make that decision?
Sure. Firstly, Irina, thank you so much for inviting me to the podcast. I'm humbled and it's a complete pleasure to be here, with you and sharing my journey. You already know, but for the benefit of others who will be listening in, I have like a decade plus experience in the HR space, working across consulting, legal, and non-for-profit sectors. I was one person who had the credentials, who had the experience. I knew I had the capability as well. But I was at a point in time that I realized I wasn't stuck in a loop, not moving forward, having the depth of the experience, but not being able to strategically, call that out and position myself during interviews. I guess that was a loop I was stuck. And this went on for like a couple of months before I came across and attended one of your master classes. And that's when slowly, things started to move and helped me take that plunge, take that decision that, okay, it's time to, really take that step forward and not just keep reinventing the wheel each time.
Yes, I love that. So in that loop where you're like, I know I'm qualified. Like I've literally worked in this field for a decade. And if you can survive consulting, I always say this, I have a friend in consulting, like you can literally do anything because it is so demanding, so challenging. So what is it that do you think was the reason that you weren't getting the results that you were looking for and you were stuck in that loop? Like what was it?
I would say the first thing is being an immigrant myself. You take some time to adjust the local landscape. Like, what does Canada really want? What do the Canadian employers look for? Things like that. You read through, different articles, you speak with different people, all of that. But it's the right person guiding you at the right time. I guess that can be, the catalyst that one needs. For me, it was your, the masterclass and of course the further sessions, the materials that we went through and the ongoing support that was rendered, in the HR Star program. All of that helped. But what I was stuck with was how to position myself. How do I articulate what the employer really wants to hear? the understanding that, okay, how do you pick up the top 2 or 3 things which that particular employer is looking for? And how do you really demonstrate and showcase your transferable skills or the direct skills for that role? Articulating your right position. I guess that is
Yes.
where I was stuck with.
Okay, I totally get that, especially being newer to a country and trying to figure it out. Like you said, like what do the people locally really want? Because one thing can work in one region and something totally different is looked for in another. So it's a whole new ballgame. Although these are things I'm sure I said this to you as well, but I always say it's like if you've spent a decade in HR, HR is HR. Whether you did that in Dubai, whether you did that in the US, there are transferable skills. It's all transferable, but sometimes serving it up in different wrapping paper kind of thing makes it stand out differently in those markets. I recently actually was talking to a career coach who just moved to Jordan. She's from Jordan, then she lived in Canada for a long time, like over a decade, and then she moved back to Jordan. I'm like, it looks like things are going really well. Like, tell me more. How are things going? She's like, it's totally different here. She's like, I forgot. And she had to change a lot of things about how she was showing up as well, because just culturally, there are different things that stand out. And there's so many different biases in North America that are different than anywhere else in the world. Okay, got it. So you felt like you identified you were stuck. How long was it, would you say you were stuck in that loop?
I would say close to around 8-9 months.
Wow. Okay. So that's a long time mentally, emotionally, even financially looking for that right role. Okay. Got it. And then you mentioned you joined the master class and then you made the decision. What ultimately told you at that time that this was the right next step for you? How did you make that decision?
So I attended the master class, and what previous to that was I was tweaking my resume endlessly. All that you hear from different people and, different career coachings that is available, that, okay, you have to customize your resume and you need to have all the keywords from the job description, all of that. So that's what you automatically resort to. Like, okay, I'm customizing, I'm including all the keywords, but the fact that those actions repeatedly did not really translate into the outcomes I was striving for myself. I did have a couple of interviews, but after, say, maybe the first 2 or the third round of discussion, it wouldn't move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I knew that this has to stop, because it's emotionally very draining. And it's like any other human being, I started to doubt myself as well. Like that slowly crept in. And I didn't want to continue just relying on my past successes that I had previously, but I wanted to, accomplish newer things over here, what I had originally set out for myself. And that was the turning point for me. And I knew that there was no shortage of effort on my end, but it was the issue of the strategy. I was not requiring motivation, but rather I needed clarity and structure and someone who would give me, okay, this is what you're accountable for, and that's when I thought, okay, this is the time frame I need to hop on. And then I made the decision to join in on the HR Star program.
Thank you so much for sharing that and like the behind the scenes of what was really happening and how it was affecting you. And I see a lot of those behind the scenes moments. And what you said is just an echo that I hear time and time again that I don't think people realize. And it is not due to lack of effort. When I speak to people and they tell me they've applied to hundreds of jobs, in your case, 8 to 9 months, and that's not lack of effort. And you even spending time to go and follow all the tips that you are hearing to say, update your resume each and every time, change it. And of course, that's taking half an hour, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour per application. So you're wasting hours, which turn into months, so much time. And I'm super passionate with telling people you don't have to change your resume every single time. There's value in that advice that's online. And the value is that you do want your resume to match the applications. Of course, you are not going to get calls if your experience is not lined up with the role. But we need to take a more strategic view, which is your experience is aligned with the roles. You're not going, after 10 years of HR experience, you're not going for an astronaut job. Like you're going for another HR job. So how do we zoom out from each and every application to more holistically to the target role and align to that? And that gives so much better results, but also it's just mentally, it's a lot easier and it saves a lot of time as well. So thank you for pointing that out. I know that someone will take a huge lesson away from that as well. Okay, so then you join HR Star, and what happened next?
Well, our first conversation was on the resume revamp.
Yeah.
But before that, before even we had that conversation, I already had access to the entire program. So I could see for myself, like, okay, what are the different stages? But the fact that I could explore each one of them at any given point of time, that gave me a lot of flexibility. The repository that you have created, I mean, I must applaud you on that, Arena. Like, it has like everything probably that you would need to, address any division within the HR framework. That is really, really helpful. Our conversation on the resume transformation for myself, it was like on point. And I thought like, okay, 60 minutes, we'll be able to cover everything. And here we did. And it was like, one step at a time. And the questions that you posed during our conversation, like I realized, okay, this is the idea behind why you were asking me these numbers, where it was lacking. And once the resume was done, I could see the drastic difference in terms of the version I had originally and the version that, you and I created together. And that was fabulous. Once that was done, we did like two separate versions. One was for, a more mid-level role. And then one was for the HR leader role in case I wanted to, target those roles as well, given the number of experience that I had. And it worked. It worked like magic, I would say, because firstly, I changed my LinkedIn based on the resume that we created. I made all the other suggestions that you had, pointed out. I incorporated those as well. I could see the difference because what I was trying to convey was really showing. It had all the components that would entail and would cover most of the job descriptions that I was targeting. So here and there, yes, I had to tweak a little bit to incorporate maybe, okay, this is a keyword which is not there in my experience, but how do I tweak my existing resume, existing experience to translate it to that? But those were like very minor changes, not requiring too much of my time. And the number of applications I could do with these versions was, way off than what I was doing initially. So saving me time and saving me the burden of, revamping and tweaking it from end to end, that really saved a lot of time for me. So that was the first thing that we did. And after that, I attended a couple of your sessions, which you have like every month, which are calendarized. That again is so helpful because it's not just your own journey. Like you get to hear from others, discuss live, like while on the call. Okay, you share your pitch. Like how are you, presenting your pitch? And that live session really is so helpful because you're able to hear the others and you're able to process it there and then. Oh yeah, this is something even I am stuck with at times. And you learn from others' experiences as well. So I think that again is such a huge support system that you have created within this program, which I'm sure, all the participants really appreciate and do benefit from.
Thank you so much for calling that out. Community is so important. And even for me personally, like I've tried to live without community and I just keep coming back to surrounding myself with others that are doing similar things, whether it's like on this Friday, I'm actually going to a book club with other entrepreneurs. We're reading a book together. And could I be doing a million things that I need to do on my to-do list? Yes. But it's the power of community. I know I walk away more inspired. I feel like there's others that are facing the same challenges I'm facing. There's others that can understand me. And that is how adults learn best. We learn from each other and the shared experiences. And I think the feeling of not feeling alone is a big one for community. So I love that those were helpful. And sometimes people will ask a question we don't think of yet,
Yeah.
right? We're like, oh, great question. But like, now I just learned something I wouldn't have even asked about if this was one to one, right?
Absolutely. But I would say, in a nutshell, what this program did for me was it was very practical and very strategic in terms of making me understand as a professional that, okay, I don't need to really change myself, but it's all about how do I articulate my value differently. The employer, the hiring manager views me in the same light. So the focus was on how decision makers are thinking. And that completely changed my approach, understanding the nuance behind that.
I love that. And it's nothing about you had to change. Your effort didn't have to change, like you said. Your experience didn't have to change. But how you present it is just, it's again the wrapping paper. It's just, changing that. And that small change is everything. So I love that. How did you know things were working? Like, at what point? So I know you have the resume. You're like, okay, I got this. I understand. You're attending the sessions. You're doing the work because it's you doing all of the work involved. But again, not lack of effort. And how did you know? What were like some of the first signs that you're like, okay, I think this was the right next step?
The first change that I witnessed was the networking part, right? Like I received requests from recruiters. I was able to do networking even on my end. Like I was able to reach out and present myself that, okay, I'm here to value add. And the way this translated was the fact that what the response came, like every time I had a conversation, it was this same, vibe. And the response that I received was, oh, you bring in a very mature HR perspective. That was like one of the things which I noticed, because previous to this, it was like, okay, I was sending out messages on LinkedIn, trying to, do coffee meets, those kinds of things. But it's a very, I would say, a lukewarm response that I would see previously. But this time around, when, the LinkedIn has changed, the resumes change, and the way I am having these conversations with the people, that changed. It shifted. So it was a very positive change that I witnessed. And when that happens, it's like, oh, okay. I stopped doubting myself. I'm not questioning, am I good enough? Now I start asking myself, when I go into the conversation, how do I solve their pain point? How do I contribute so that they view me, view me as someone, okay, she can be a trusted advisor, So that's the shift which I witnessed. And I was elated with that.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I love that. You mentioned so many shifts. So from feeling like, am I good enough? Is anyone see my application? What's happening here? To, oh no, I am. And I can't wait for the conversation to share how, right? And then the other shift from not getting the responses, networking, to having networking conversations and have recruiters reach out to you. Like that is a shift on its own as well. And then you mentioned the interviews, like in the past you had some and they weren't progressing beyond a certain stage. And then seeing this shift of people saying like, oh, I like your perspective. You're bringing this different mature perspective to the conversation, which is amazing. So I love those shifts. And what happened in terms of how did the role come about? Because I know that was a really exciting moment. So take us through what happened next.
Certainly. Firstly, I was like double-minded. Okay, this is different domain altogether. The role is exciting because there were newer things that this role was actually created for. And this was a first time thing, even on the organizations, the companies, and that they were, venturing into something new. And I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. What's the worst that could happen? So I was in a couple of other interview processes separately to, other organizations as well. But this came up, and this was through, again, a network. So I reached out I did a couple of coffee meets, and from there things progressed. And I got to know, okay, this role is opening up, and I applied. And later on, I got to know like they received around more than 700 applications for this position. And the sheer number was like, oh my God, like there are so many qualified people in the market who are vying for the same role. But there will be something in my profile, something in my resume, something in the conversations that I've had so far that made them realize that, okay, no, she is a good candidate. Let's consider her. After that, I had like, I think 5 rounds of discussions with them, which were including the final interviews with the E-team, executive team, like including the CFOs and the CEOs, things like that. And every conversation that I had with them, Irina, I was able to translate my experience into showing what does that do for your business? What's the impact that I have created? Discounting the fact that I did not have that industry experience, I was still able to speak confidently, let them know what I had done previously across the different industries. And this all happened because of the HR Star program, I would say so, because I had gone through the different modules that you have created in this program, equipped myself with the right information, the right way of, articulating and positioning myself as to what the hiring manager is wanting to listen. And these were all based on my existing experience. Like it's not like reading something which is fictional. No, I'm just speaking their language.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Especially when you're speaking to CEOs, CFOs, it's hard to speak their language because a CFO, they're just thinking numbers, and their executives, they're used to executive level communication. It can be very intimidating to have conversations like that. And a lot of people struggle with that. So I'm so glad to hear that you were prepared and ready and like you did the work, you studied, like you were able to speak their language. What I'm really impressed with is the fact that out of 700 people, they surely had people that have experience in their industry. I like for sure. And the fact that you didn't have it and they still are like, no, this person is the right person for our organization says a lot about the way you were able to showcase, not with past experience based on industry, but literally showcase that HR is HR and you've done it before and you can do it again in a different organization, in a different industry. And that's freaking amazing. Okay, good. What happened next?
Well, I guess that all happened within a span of 1.5 months. So 5 different discussions. But towards the end, I would say it all, came out the way I originally hoped for. In fact, better than that. The team was from the beginning, like once they had made up their mind, like towards the end, like I knew that, okay, they are leaning in and I am at a level where I have created, somewhat of a credibility that, okay, they know they can trust me with this role and they are envisioning me in that role already. And that helped me further once the offer extension, the offer rollout stage came, because their budget was very different. But given the fact that, okay, I am bringing in almost everything that they are looking for and more to them. So they went above and beyond and offered me, a massive hike to what I was previously getting. And I was able to negotiate that. But all that happened because, yes, I delivered. I positioned myself, in that way that you need me. You are making the right decision to consider me and getting me on board. So that
is amazing. Yes. So to feel like you could feel them leaning in, like you said, and you can feel how excited they are about the potential of working with you. And that's when often our energy shifts from like that needy energy of like, please hire me to I'm excited about this opportunity, but let's make sure it's mutually the right, exciting next step. It's exciting for both of us. And I know how excited you were once those negotiations went really well. So huge congratulations on your part. That's not easy to do. A lot of people in this market are very afraid to ask for even their worth, let alone any increase to an offer because they feel like, well, there's 700 other people. Maybe they'll say no, and maybe it'll make them think I'm greedy or not excited. And that couldn't be farther from the truth, to be honest, because to your point, it's like, what's the worst that can happen? They say no, and then you still, end up, if you ask in the right way, I should say, if you ask in the wrong way, yes, an offer could be retracted if you're not grateful, if you're not excited. But when approaching negotiations strategically and in the right way, so much is possible. You've started. What are you the most proud of in achieving? Because that's there were so many shifts that you changed and so many mindset things. What would you say you're the most proud of after doing this work?
Well, firstly, I would say previous to this, I was in a role which was not pure play HR or people and culture, say it here in Canada. And what I was doing was still a lot, which was covering HR space, but not directly. I was dying to get into the same industry, which I have been a part of previously. So for me, the first thing, okay, I'm getting into a pure and play, people and culture role, which I love doing. So that was one. Second, I never thought that I would be able to get into an industry which was not something I had been a part of previously. So being able to enter that, because again, this is a new landscape, it's new learning, it's growth for me, right? So all of that was the second thing. And thirdly, of course, I did not think I would be able to negotiate the compensation increase that I finally got. And it was not on any bad or negative way. They were so positive about it, and that it was mutually convenient for both the parties, right? So they were welcoming, and I, of course, was more than happy to accept that offer. But I guess all these three things that really boosted the way that I was feeling about myself. I was employed. It was not like I wasn't, but to get into the space that you love.
Yes.
That is really important for any working professional.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so beautiful. There's such a huge toll that you can't put a number on, that when you're not in the role that is at one point may have been a dream job and it's like a stepping stone maybe, or, at one point it was fine, but we evolve as people. And at one point things change and our desires change and we want to be in that next role. And we know that we are ready inside, but the toll that takes, staying in a role that no longer is satisfying, impacts everything. I mean, I've personally been there. I stayed with a company for 7 years and I probably stayed 4 years too long, 3 years too long. And those 3 years until I was out of it, I didn't realize the toll it took on me, but I couldn't sleep. It was giving me anxiety, insomnia. It didn't feel good. And just the perception of myself, like I wasn't proud of my career. Right. And it takes such a huge toll. So I love that you moved into a new industry. The compensation being exciting is another thing, but that purpose and fulfillment and getting back to the aligned role that that you love, that's fantastic. And now I know it's been a couple weeks since you've been in the new role. Give us the scoop. How has it turned out in terms of what you pictured before you went in? Because I know sometimes it's different in interviews than it is in real life. How are things going for you?
Things are going very well, touch wood. So I've met a lot of people, a lot of e-team, a lot of the actual employee base that I would be managing them as well. I would be carrying out the engagement survey for them, which I'm really excited about. And also, I would be launching something which is called train the leaders and train the trainer.
That's my favorite part of HR. I love that.
Yes. So I would be responsible for that as well. So I'm just gearing up, starting out from scratch and creating the cue cards, repository, all of that. So I'm just working on that.
Amazing. Well, congratulations. That sounds exciting. And it's you already know the big projects that are going to come up. And I love that they're big stones as well. It's not the day to day. It's engagement survey can take 6 months from planning to execution to then the data that comes afterwards and training programs and coaching people to get them to the next level. That's always the most rewarding, at least in my perspective. So love that. Now, final question for you. What would you say to someone who's trying to make the decision right now and wondering whether or not they should join HR Star?
Absolutely. I would say, introspect and see, do you feel that you are stuck? Things are not moving. And if things are not moving in terms of either your resume is not getting hits, either you're not moving ahead in interview, or you are not able to clear that final round of discussion at any given stage, don't think in a small way. Stop playing small. Stop waiting to feel, am I ready? Don't ask those questions. Invest in learning how to advocate your value. That's what this program is gonna teach whoever wants to, benefit it from. For me, so previous to this, I did had a couple of sessions with other coaches, but I knew it at the onset that it wasn't right for me. Your program is focused on HR professionals. You have lived and experienced that, and you bring that onto the platform as well. And the framework that you have created, it is immense. I cannot put it into words, like what it does for a professional who wants to, benefit it from and avail all that is there that you've put out. Everything is there, like from, resume, LinkedIn, pitch, the counseling sessions, the coaching sessions, and the private group, like you can put your questions there. People discount that, it's like, okay, it's there, you take it for granted, but it is a live support system. And like you are so responsive, you've added on new people who are responsive as well. All of this is immense and one should be taking advantage of this. And once you're in, you really can see to yourself how you are as a professional and you stop doubting yourself. And I know for some it may take time, but eventually it will translate into the results that you are, wanting for yourself.
So well said. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming on and sharing vulnerably. Thank you for sharing your successes as well. I'm so proud of what you've achieved. I'm so happy to see you step into your next chapter and seeing you evolve through the process, do the work. That shouldn't be taken lightly. Like you said, you invested in yourself, but then you also did all of the work and then it worked for you. So I'm so, so happy. Thank you for coming. And if there is anything you need through this onboarding journey, your first 90 days, please never hesitate to reach out. And I can't wait to see where this takes you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Irina. I'm incredibly grateful to you for your mentorship and for the belief that you exude for everyone who is, in there in the program. That's incredible. Like you instill that faith in us, you can do it.
Yes, I love that. What an amazing place to end. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing what you accomplish next.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Hey, before you go, if you've enjoyed listening to today's show, I would love your support. Please take a moment to leave a review anywhere where you listen to podcasts. And here's the exciting part. I'm running a special contest and giving away a one-on-one session with yours truly. All you have to do is leave a review, take a screenshot, and send it to me in my DMs. All of my contact info is in the show notes. I appreciate you so much, and I cannot wait to build the career and life that you've been craving together. See you next week.